Thank you for inviting me. Okay, you're going to get a little bit of repeat maybe. Maybe something's quite different from what Keith said, but I was asked to start, first of all, talking about egg storage and how do we maintain embryo viability in our stored eggs. Egg storage, of course, you know, you're going to see large hatch window. We're going to see late hatching birds. And they're hatching later because of a couple of reasons. When you have stored eggs, some of those eggs will start to develop a little later once you put them in the incubator. They don't all start at the same time. The other reason is that stored eggs will have a tendency to develop at a slower rate. Of course, you all know that you're going to see reduced hatch, and you're going to see reduced chick quality. This is some work from Gailene Fisenko, and you can see here she just was trying to point out different lengths of storage, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 days, and showing the decrease in hatch, documenting it right there. And notice that the late mortality increased as the egg storage went up. You tend, of course, to see a lot of pips in the stored eggs. Here's some work out of Belgium, Tona, where he was showing 3 days stored eggs versus 18 days stored eggs. And what he was trying to do here is look at the number of hours from the time the eggs were set to the time they internally pipped. And you notice that the fresh eggs, which are the 3 days stored eggs, 468 hours, while the stored eggs for 18 days had increased by 9 hours to 477. Notice that the time that they spent internally pipped into the air cell now, right here, with the fresh eggs they spent just a little bit over 5 hours. But the stored eggs, they spent almost 11 hours. So double the amount of time inside the air cell. Then if you look at duration of external pipping, or the time it took them to break the shell and hatch, you can see here that it really wasn't much different. And so the total incubation period then of the fresh eggs versus the stored eggs, you can see there was about a 16-hour difference. Okay, we know that during egg storage we see, as other people have already mentioned today, we're going to see changes in egg components. We're also going to see changes in the embryo. Now, in terms of changes in the egg component during storage, we see the egg starting to cool. There's going to be a loss of CO2. When you break open a really fresh egg, the albumin is cloudy, and that's the CO2 in there. And as it sits in your storage, it's going to dissipate out through the pores. And so we're going to see a change in the pH of the albumin, because the CO2 loss is going to cause the pH to rise. We'll see a slight difference in the pH of the yolk, as you can see right here. And then, of course, you all know that there's differences in the properties of the albumin that cause a reduction in the height of the albumin. And then, of course, moisture loss. We have the beginning of the air cell starting to form as moisture leaves through the pores of the egg. Here we have a stage 10 embryo unincubated. Stage 10 is the predominant stage of development for the embryo at the time it's laid or overpositioned. And you got 40 to 60,000 cells in there. And it might look something, this is a very simplified diagram, but it might look something like this. You have a 1 or 2 layer cell layer right here, and then along the periphery, which would be right here, this donut shape, you have multiple cell layers here. And with storage, what's going to happen is some of these cells are going to start to die off. So you might start, let's say, with 40, or let's say you start with 60,000 cells. The number of cells, when you put them into storage, is going to gradually decrease. Such as if you see this work that Murray Bass did here just a couple of years ago in some work here, you can see here, this is the number of live cells in eggs that have been stored for 3 to 4 days. Here he's showing between 3,000 and 3,500 eggs, or 35,000 cells, I'm sorry. These are two